The purpose of this video is to show you measurement lines and how to create a measurement report. So on a pattern, you as a pattern maker want to always keep in mind how large your pattern is at some critical measurement points. And those measurement points are the waist and the hip. So in Tüketech, you can measure any line that you have drawn on the pattern, or you can also measure any external line. So first, let me get to an internal line. What we want to first do is to add a point. So I'm going to select a point on the side. We know that this is the side rather than the center front of the skirt by the curve of the hip. And I just want to make that a grading point just temporarily so that I know where that point actually is. Now, just to review about grading points, curve points, and straight points, is that a grading point is breaking a line into two. So in other words, the line below the hip here would be a separate line than the line above the hip. Generally, you don't want that. Generally, you only want to have grade points at corners and where darts are. So yes, that is usually where you would see grade points. However, anytime you can put in a grade point and then you can change it at a later date. A curve point is exactly that, is a curved line or trying to create a curved line. So when you don't want a curved line, you just uncheck it and it becomes a straight point. So it's just a point on a line. It is continuous. It's just putting like a little marker on a line, but it didn't break that line into two. Now, when I did this on my hip, I designated it 8 inches down. You can see 8 inches right there. It's very small on the video screen, but it's indicating 8 inches. And then I'm going to use the draft tool, or what looks like a pencil, to draw a line coming from the side. I do want a point connection, and I just want to come straight across. Now, do I need to be straight? No, in fact I don't, and I'm going to purposely make this crooked so that you see that I do not need to be ultra careful with my lines, because there's a sub-menu that comes up and it says from point. And when it does that, it's getting me X and Y as well as distance. Now, X is a horizontal line. So if I don't want X to move, in other words, the line to move horizontally, I can type in 0. Y, I'm just going to leave because I connected it to the center front right there. So X is 0, it's not going to move, and it'll be a perpendicular line. To disconnect this line, I do a right mouse click and I get my line. Do another right mouse click to select tool. Then what I want to do is I want to double click on this line and I want to give it a name. And you should use the same names that Armstrong uses in the pattern making book. So she just calls this a hip, and that's the label that you should use just to be consistent. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the back. Again, I'm going to go to add a point. I'm going to click a point on the line here. My next would be 8. Temporarily, I want that to be a grade point. I don't want it to be a curve. And right mouse click, select tool, draft. And again, yes, I do want a point connection. Just go ahead and draw my line. Again, from point, 0, and click on OK. Now I'm going to also label this line as well, and I should label it the same. So I shouldn't label it front hip and back hip. It should just be hip. And I'll show you that what happens in just a minute. So if I label this hip on my front and my back, then into the tech we can go to a tool which is called report. And that report is called measurements. So it would automatically give me the measurements. Now you notice, because I labeled them the same, the program recognized that it's both the front and the back. So it gives me the total, plus it breaks it into skirt front and skirt back. And then it also tells me how many pieces are on each one of those. Now I can save these to Excel as well. I'm going to go ahead and move on to an external line. External line is a little bit different. That with an external line, what it's going to do is it's going to measure between grade points. So I have a grade point at the side waist, and I have a grade point at my center front waist. Now I also have little grade points, so these little squares at the darts. But because that is a dart image, it's going to skip over that dart. So I'm going to double click on this point, and I'm going to give it a point info. So this time I'm just going to call it a waist, but now because it's an external line, I need to give it a command, and that command is a /m. So it's waist / measure is really what it's saying. So waist /m, don't spell out the word measure, and click on apply. And then I can do the same thing to my back, and again, be consistent. Waist /m, and click on apply. Now when I go to my report again and my measurements right here, you'll notice again I use the same words, so it's going to pick up the same thing. It's going to give me a total waist measurement of 27.6, skirt front, skirt back, and it breaks it up into 14.5 for the front and 6.5 for the back, times of course 2. And again, I can launch that to Excel and get that in an Excel sheet. This concludes measuring patterns.